Okay, we are installing a battery in a 2015 Mercedes Sprinter 4x4 van. This is the battery compartment without anything in there. There is two ports, it looks like more, or two terminals. This is the positive, down there is the negative. They just come out and stay there like this. As you take that out, you just pull everything away from you, kind of to the side here. Helps if you have somebody else, and then you can just slip the battery down there. So what we're doing is we're going to replace it, and what I've been doing is just looking at a couple things. There's actually holes in the bottom here. This is kind of important because some holes are good, some holes are bad. A lot of holes in the floor here before you insulate and do all the stuff with your Sprinter van. And what I've done is, now that I've seen this, I'm going to cover some of them. This is the drain hole, or the air escape hole for a port on the battery. And the other one right here, that's just a drainage hole, but there's other ones. There was one here, here, and there's another one here, but there was already a cap in there. So I almost wonder if they were originally came with caps because they're just not there. Sometimes that happens. So what I'm doing is I'm covering them up with Gorilla Tape. You could use Dynamat or whatever, but I'm covering that, and I'm going to put another piece of Gorilla Tape on that, and I'm going to leave that one open because that's where the battery drainage port is going to go, and I'll show you that. I'm doing this outside of Napa. Battery drainage port comes here, and this just slots into the side. I'll show you, and then this is just goes out of the actual drain port there. So there's only one. This one is capped off, the other one is open, so you need one drainage port. So I'm going to move this in, and I'll show you how that drainage port goes in. So when you put this in, this is the battery retaining unit. It actually goes in there and holds the battery down. But when you do that, this goes into the battery retaining unit, and this goes out that hole that I was explaining before, out through the bottom, so you have drainage out of your battery. So what I would suggest is take this out while you're doing the install. Just don't crack it or break it. This is the last thing that goes in after you get everything in, and then again it goes down, and then it secures the battery. Okay, so we got this back in, and now it's just a matter of tucking all of your wires in there. And basically now what we're going to do is connect this back in. So this is our battery breather tube. So that goes back in there, and then this will connect into there. And I'll have to slide it back and down the tube. Well, the first thing I wanted to do before I did this was to put some grease on the bolts, because these bolts are all very exposed to some water. They have been over the years. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give them a little coating of some silver anti-seize, because this is, it might come loose a bit, but this is not a super structural bolt. It's holding the battery in, so I'm not incredibly worried about it. I'm going to use this for the other bolts too in a second. Sneak that back there. And that goes there like that. Face the fun task of seating this, which miraculously I think I just did. Okay, now you've got, this is a 10 mil. I tried initially using a 10 mil multi-point socket, which generally works, but it just did not have the bite to get the bolt out because it was so corroded. So now I'm just gonna hand tighten first. Always a good way to go about it. Sleeves out of the way here. to make sure you got the correct threading of the bolts. One thing to note is that when you put this in, it actually slides this way. It slides to the driver's seat, and there's a little lip that it slides under, and that's why this slides over top of the other lip, which is what gives it its connection. So something to be aware of. I'm just going to now tighten these up. So for those who want to know, this is a Type 49 battery. And we got a 900 cold cranking app. This is still a flooded battery. You know, you could have paid an extra $100 for the glass matrix battery, which apparently holds charge for a little bit longer, but I'm not 100% convinced that makes a big difference. An extra $100, and we would have to go somewhere else, so the kids were waiting. Didn't want to do that. So this is getting pretty close. It's exciting. After this, what we're going to do is find a Ziploc bag and then put the receipt for this battery in the car, or sorry, in this little box here. I'm just going to slide it along the side. Keep it protected. That is where we're going to keep the receipt, because then we'll always know where it is. Now that's done, it is a matter of putting this thing back on. Good to have one of these sets if you own a Sprinter van. For those who know, you know. Put a little anti-seize on these because they were kind of seizing. And then we got 3 more. You know, really, you don't have to put it on all sides of there. You can just kind of do one side, and then it should coat everything once it goes around. The reason these are kind of rusty is because when they were last put in, or because those holes in the bottom of the thing there, the floor under the pan of the battery was letting moisture in, and so it kind of comes up and makes things all wonky.
Wait, you didn't find my tooth.